Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's the Catholic Convert Show, and it's a beautiful, nice, and balmy Tuesday afternoon here in the South. Finally getting past this heat wave, but apparently the heat dome is heading up to all you fellas in the Northeast. So good luck with that. Stay hydrated, pray, stay inside, whatever. I don't know. All I can say is I'm glad it's leaving here.
Well,
it's hot over there for Ed.
Yes, it has found its way to New Jersey, and we are in day 2 of what is supposed to be an 8-day heat wave. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. Hey, at least it'll cut down on the humidity and your Wi-Fi won't suck.
No, I mean, heat waves around here usually are accompanied by a great deal of humidity. So,
all right. So all the episodes next week are going to have Ed broadcasting via Telegram.
There you go.
I hope you all learn Morse code between now and then.
That'll work.
Now, I think there's something very unique about living in the South. You know, I've been here in South Carolina for, I'll say 29 or 30 of my 37.56 years. I was born in North Carolina, but so that, you know, still kind of counts as the South. But I spent the better part of a decade living out west. We were living in West Texas. We were living in New Mexico. I did a lot of work in Arizona. And I was talking this morning with my editor and publisher, and she's never seen Breaking Bad. She said she watched 3 episodes and immediately said, I can't get into this. And so I told us, like, no, by the end of the first season, you're definitely hooked, because Breaking Bad is one of those shows that if you sit and actually watch it and you kind of understand the dynamic, you know, like Walt being this reluctant villain that's fighting in like this Mexican standoff against, I want to be recognized, I want to provide for my family, and I still want to be a good dad. And he's fighting all 3 of those battles. It's a really good show. But one of the most captivating things about the entire show, and I talked about this earlier today on Twitter, is the camera work. The camera work on that show set the entire vibe. It's got these wide closed shots. It's got the objective POV shots. And then, of course, it's using the wide angle lens. And they did the better part of the entire series on 35 millimeter film before they switched over to 4K. And it sets the entire tone and the vibe. Now, I used to, like I said, I used to live in New Mexico. And it is the worst place on planet Earth to live. Okay, I'll say that there. They call it the land of enchantment. It's really the land of entrapment. Okay, because when you get there, you're like, oh, the desert's great. It's got this weird kind of mysterious beauty aesthetic to it. You know, it's gritty, it's dirty, and beautiful all at the same time when you're living in at least the desert parts of New Mexico, right? Now, obviously, not all of New Mexico is desert. You go up north past Taos and all this other, and you've got, you know, the ski resorts, and it's nice, and there's green trees everywhere, Ruidoso, all these places. But watching Breaking Bad every single time, it makes me miss living in New Mexico, and I hated it the entire time I lived there. Right, that's how great the camera work and the whole vibe of the show is. But in the South, I love it here. One of the main reasons we came back here was there's more employment opportunities because I haven't been doing what I do for a living forever. and it's green. There's grass, there's trees. Not everything has thorns. There are no tarantulas, there's no scorpions, at least noticeable ones. Um, and it just, it's always been home. I'm from here. But there's one thing that is definitely unique to living in the South, and that is the lady at the produce stand, right? You go to, my wife and I went to this produce stand, and we like going to this particular one because they usually give us these like 5-pound blocks of pure butter that came straight off a farm. It's like Amish style butter. It's rolled in this giant square of wax paper. And it's next to Kerrygold, it's the best friggin' butter I've ever had. And I cook everything in that butter. And it lasts forever because this is a big 5-pound block of butter. But the lady at the produce stand, maybe it's because I'm used to it here in the South and I'd never experienced it when like I was up in Long Island for a little bit in Port Jefferson. I stayed there for a while. I stayed in, again, New Mexico, Texas. But the weirdest thing that people will find when they come here to the South is how completely open people are to telling you all of their business in this massive overshare, right? Because like where I live, I'm not going to say I'm isolated, but it's this, it used to be a subdivision back in the 40s and 50s when the mill that I can see just over the hill over here was in full bloom. It's a textile mill. They had a bleachery. They're dyeing, all these different fabrics, these different colors going out to clothing companies. But they built all of these houses around it. And I live in one of those houses now. My house was built in 1941. But I live on a dead end road, and you never see traffic through here unless it's the UPS driver, the trash truck that comes by, or it's people who live here. So if I see 3-4 people going down the road in an hour, I'm like, why is it busy today? It's completely out of place. And I spend a lot of time at home. I don't like going out to crowded places. Now, I'm very outgoing. I'm an extrovert. You put me in crowded places, I can talk to every guy in the joint. We can have conversations, effortless conversations. But I like the quiet. I like the privateness of it. And I wonder sometimes if these produce ladies all live in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking absolutely nowhere, where they never get to see another human soul that's not related to them for weeks at end. Because my wife and I were walking into this produce stand, and my wife's picking up, a couple of watermelons, some squash, some tomatoes, because none of ours have come in yet, and grabbing some butter. We get up there to the counter. We're going to pay for everything. And this lady just starts talking to us. And I'm pretty sure the thing that goes through her head as we're walking up to the counter was, I have no idea who these people are. I've never met them in my life, but I've been harboring these resentments towards certain people in my family for far too long, and I've got to get it off my chest. And these people are going to be the collateral damage. And so my wife and I, what should have been this 3, 4, 5-minute interaction, paying for our produce and leaving, sat there and listened to this woman tell me all of the ways that her sister-in-law, Sheila, and her sister, Tammy, have done the family wrong since her father's passing, and tried to take all of his belongings when they were trying to disregard the will. And my wife and I are just standing there. This is a weird conversation to be having. You don't know us. I don't know Sheila. I don't know Tammy. Although by the end of the story, Sheila, you need to apologize if you're watching this show. I'm going to tell you right now, you did wrong, girl. Okay. But we're standing there and we're listening. We're listening to this lady, and she's unloading all of these personal details about her life and her family life. And I have no idea what to say. Like, I'm never at a loss for words. But I mean, obviously, I'm doing this show, but she's just going on and on. And my wife is very introverted. I'm that one guy that's standing out waving at all the neighbors, and she's like, I hate everyone. I'm going inside. You know, it's the opposites that attract, I guess. But we're standing there, and it's just she's unloading years of trauma and drama from her family. And by the end of it, we're like, well, Gloria, we're on your side. Thanks for the produce, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. So weird. But again, that's something that's very unique down here in the South. And I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
have you lived in Jersey your whole life? Like born, bred, raised right there in Jersey?
I love how you ask it in such a way as though you feel sorry for me.
No.
Have you really
I
lived
mean,
there that long?
I've never lived in Jersey. I've been through Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to drive through Jersey if I'm going up north to New York.
Yeah.
Not recently, but when I was going, between here and Port Jefferson, I obviously passed through Jersey. Had to go through the tunnel. I'm right there in Newark, and so yeah. But have you lived in Jersey your whole life, or did you just somehow end up there?
No, I have lived here my whole life. In fact, let me see. I've lived in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've lived in 5 houses, and all of them I would say would be within about 5 or 6 miles of where I am sitting right now. So I've
Wow.
always been,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I've always
you
been at the.
are you're dug into Jersey like a tick.
Well,
Like
you gotta dig in. Well, because no, there's a. I mean, here's the thing. There's a lot to love about Jersey, and we don't talk about it because we don't want people coming here. But and I talk about how South Jersey, it's all farmland, and I mean we have more thoroughbreds than Kentucky, believe it or not. And you can look it up; it's true. But horse farms and corn and tomato and peppers and
yeah, you guys even
or,
have the biggest rodeo
cranberries.
there.
We have the longest continuous running rodeo in the US of A. They've been going since 1939. And so South Jersey is so much different than what people think of. And I'm fine to keep it a secret because that way I don't bump into too many people on the weekend because I don't like people very much. But yeah, I've been here my whole life.
As evidenced by the show.
but I've had experiences. Like, it was funny because I do think there's an aspect of it that is a Southern sort of a thing, because I remember one time down in Virginia, I was down there, and I know you probably don't even think about Virginia being part of the South, but
Virginia is barely South, but
exactly,
we'll go with it for the sake of this. I don't want to argue on the show.
And I was in a grocery store.
I'll fire him later.
I was in a parking lot of a grocery store in Virginia, and somebody just started talking to me. Well, that doesn't happen in New Jersey. So I thought I was, I
about to be
maybe
mugged
I'm on
here.
I thought I was on one of those camera kind of shows, or maybe I'm looking around to see if they're setting me up. Like, one guy's going to talk to me while another guy, jacks my wallet. But he just saw a stranger and thought he'd start up a conversation. I thought that was, when I realized what was going on, I thought that was pretty cool. And then I got a brother who now lives in Colorado, but for quite a bit of time lived in West Virginia. And when I would go to visit him, man, it took me forever to check into a hotel because because the guy who checked me in would just start talking to me. And it was funny because one time I went in there and I gave him my last name, and he says, well, this is the weirdest thing because we were there for a reunion, by the way. And he says, this is the weirdest thing because the last 4 people that checked in all had the same last name as you. Are y'all kin? And I said, well, what do you think? And but But then he just was so he just needed to know everything of why we were there and how long we were going to stay and who we were visiting, which is fine. You know, I thought it was pretty interesting that he just and then he starts telling us all about his life and how long he's worked at the motel and everything. And the only problem with that one is that that particular motel was sandwiched between two pig farms. And I don't know if you've ever been to a pig farm in August.
Oh yeah,
It's it's a
ripe.
treat. It's ripe. Yes, it
It's
is.
ripe.
So I
Yeah.
just wanted to check in,
Like
get washed,
I
and
get
with
it.
my brothers. But
Like I
but
just
I'll
want to
tell
check
you,
in.
yeah,
And you're standing there, and these people walk up to you in the grocery store. I've gotten used to it here because I grew up here, right?
yeah,
Right now I live 35, 45 minutes away from the elementary school. Well, the elementary school building that I went to, from every house that I spent my childhood in. I'm 35, 45 minutes away from there. I never really go back there anymore because there's nothing to do there but methamphetamines. But that's the hobby. Yeah, right. It's like the town hobby. But like I'm used to the culture of it here. Everybody, the Southern hospitality really is a thing, and people.
yeah.
When we say in the South, people treat you like family all the time. That doesn't mean it's part of a good family, right? Sometimes they're very dysfunctional families, and you're just a member, right?
Oh
You're
yeah.
that cousin that nobody talks about. But I'm standing there, like I said, me and my wife were listening to this lady unload everything about Sheila and Tammy, and I'm like, I'm trying to buy butter. you know, and then at the end of all of it, she wanted to ask, so where are you guys from? Do you live here? I don't even know how to answer any of her questions at this point because I've got information overload from everything she's laid down on me. I'm on her side, by the way. Gloria's a great woman and her family members have done her wrong. Sheila and Tammy should be ashamed of themselves, but Sheila needs to apologize. I'll tell you that right now. But
Well,
it's
according to
so
Gloria,
weird because, well, according to Gloria, there's three sides to this story, right?
there's
There's
three
Tammy's
sides to every
perspective,
pancake.
there's Sheila's perspective, right, right. But I noticed that I was the weird one trying to have conversations with people when I moved out west. I'm the guy that I stand in the grocery store now. Like we stopped at the grocery store before I came back home to sit down with you. And I'm standing there in line. I'm just picking up some hamburger meat, you know, and the lady in front of me's loading up all her stuff. I couldn't help it. It just kind of came out. I go, "Hey, how you doing today, ma'am?" And she turns around and starts talking to me. I'm talking to her. And for the next 10 minutes, we're in line. We're just chatting, talking, right? And she's telling me about, her day, where she works, her boss, her job. And I'm just like, shouldn't have said anything. Yep, should have just kept my mouth shut. Sometimes it feels like, visitors to the South end up being impromptu therapists for all of the store owners, the cashiers, the gas station attendants. You're all
Oh yeah.
you're all the impromptu therapists. But people thought I was the weird one just trying to even say hello when I was in Long Island or in
Oh,
El Paso or or in New Mexico. Hey, how you doing? What, you got a problem? No. Saying hello, being polite. And it's so weird, I see people all the time in England, they say, well, America shouldn't be as car dependent as they are. I'm like, you don't understand the vastness of the US. Like, you guys
yeah.
can, if you guys drive 10 hours straight, you're in the ocean because you leave your little island. We can drive 10 hours straight in some cases and still not leave the same state, right? And there's
Yeah.
50 of them. But there's so many different cultures. There's so many different dialects and ways of being, just depending on the region of the US you're in. It got me thinking about my wife's experience in the Catholic Church, because she's a Hispanic woman whose family is from New Mexico. Her family was in New Mexico before it was New Mexico, right? I think New Mexico became a state in 1909, and her family's been there since late 1700s, right? They're like you in Jersey, okay? And she went to a Catholic church out there as a kid, still never fully catechized, and she never got confirmed, which is what we're doing this weekend. But her time going into the Catholic church there versus when we started going to the church out here was like weird for her. It even got, because look, we had never gone to church as a family in the 20 odd years, or the almost 20 years that we've been together, except for a handful of times. And they were Protestant churches. And it was usually like her aunt or somebody in the family invited us, come to church with us on Sunday. Da, 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 da. Okay, cool, we'll go. That kind of thing. But when we started going to church here and attending the parish we attend now, my parish, and I've shown you what Mass looks like at my parish. The only thing that's making it not Latin Mass is that they sometimes speak English, even though it's a Novus Ordo Mass. It's a high Mass. It's full pomp, circumstance, incense, everything, 20 odd altar service going down. And she'd never seen that in the little tiny Catholic church that she went to, that she was baptized in. And it was even to the point where, we stand up and it's like, the Lord be with you and with your spirit. She's like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, babe, you're in the same boat as I am. I have zero idea what the responses are. A buddy of mine in Michigan, his name's Kyle, he asked me, he's like, do you have a missal? When he found out I was converting, I'm like, I don't know what a missal is, so I probably need one. Right? Like, I knew nothing. I'm like, I was in the same boat as her. But again, like I said, she's very introverted. So she had this, I don't even know if I want to go back. I'm like, well, why? She goes, because I feel out of place. And, this is the South. Catholicism is a very masculine, patriarchal, as it should, faith. And so I just told her, no, you're going back. You don't have permission to stay home. I'm just kidding. Kind of. But she felt really out of place and uncomfortable. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I don't know anything either. So we downloaded this Laudate app, which got this cool, Alpha and Omega, Phi Christi symbols. So we downloaded that. We started just like reading the order of the Mass, because it gives you everything on, for the daily. And so we're reading through it, kind of like, okay, after they say this, we say that. After they say this, we say that. And so we learned the responses, and we became more Catholic and kind of got further into our faith as we participated in the Mass, right? But like I said, when we lived out west, her little Catholic church never did any of that. It was like, the Lord be with you, and also with you, pal. It was very lax. It was a very lax Novus Ordo Mass, and they might have had like one altar server who was 603 years old. I think you might know him. But when we go there and we see, and we see these things, and we see the way things are properly done in Mass. And we've gone to a couple of the Latin Masses too. We went to a Latin Mass for All Souls Day, right? And I'm still kind of getting there on, okay, what's a solemn Mass? What's not a solemn Mass? I'm still kind of getting there, figuring out the subtle differences on those. But she was like me, babe in the woods, Bambi on ice, got no idea what's going on. Well, this past Sunday, day before yesterday, we're sitting there in the pew. Our friends are behind us that are going to be the witnesses at our convalidation ceremony. And we're kind of turned around talking to them before mass starts. Our son's already down there in the sacristy, and he's getting ready to come out because he's in the procession that comes down the aisle. And we're sitting there talking. And my confirmation sponsor, who I co-founded the men's ministry at our church with, comes over to me and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" We're shaking hands, we're talking. He goes, "These people over here, they're visiting, they're new to the parish. As far as this is like the first and only time they'll ever be here. And they're just here for a wedding, and they came to this parish because it was the closest one to the hotel where they were staying." And one, that's a lie, because the nearest hotel to the nearest hotel to my parish is near a lot of other parishes. But they probably just decided we need to come to the best church in the South, which is what they did.
Most likely.
And,
Yes.
you know, I'm standing there and we're going through the mass, and they're kind of across from me, but just still in my field of view. And boom, they've obviously attended another parish that's exactly the same as ours, very reverent, very orthodox in its rubrics, right? And it got me thinking again about how great it is in the Catholic Church that I can go to Jersey, I can go to New York, I can go to Texas, I can go to New Mexico. Maybe not that one little church in New Mexico where my wife's from, but I can go to all these different parishes and I'll fit right in. I'll understand what's going on. I'm not as bi-ritual as you are, because I've never attended a Byzantine church. It would be cool to do so. We just don't have them here. The closest we've got to anything that way is a Greek Orthodox, and we have a Russian Orthodox here because we've got this really weird congregation of Russian and Ukrainians here in the South for some reason. They don't hate each other, by the way. They all attend like the same parish. There's a Russian Orthodox church just up the street. It's like 50-50 Ukrainian and Russian. But it got me thinking about the beauty of the universality of Catholicism, which, that's where the word Catholic comes from. Catholicos, universal, of the whole, right? And it really is. But then I start seeing these rumors, and I don't know if you've seen them. They were talking about it yesterday in the past couple of days, a couple of different circles online, about there's rumors circulating about the complete removal of the traditional Latin Mass. Because we had, was it Traditionis Custodes, which was where they started segmenting where the Latin Mass could be done. You need permission from the bishop, and they're slowly removing Latin Mass. The problem is the Latin Mass is growing. Like if you saw the Chartres pilgrimage, you know, we had 10,000 people just all of a sudden decide we're going to walk for 3 days straight and attend, 3 Latin masses a day across this entire pilgrimage. You know, that's the one that Candace Owen was at. And I don't really understand why anyone would want to get rid of the Latin Mass outside of the one point that I've seen where, and I do agree with this, and people can get mad at me all you want to, I do agree that there's this weird circle of, the hardcore rad trads that get into the whole, well, we'd rather be in schism from the whole of the church than not attend a Latin Mass, which that's ridiculous. You need to search your heart for that. I love the Latin Mass, but the Latin Mass is very hard to attend with small children because of the length. And, I've got small children. And obviously my parish is 45 minutes away from me, and there's a 2-hour gap between their catechism and when the Latin Mass starts. I'm sorry, unless you guys want to give me gas money, I'm going to go to the high Mass, which is a Novus Ordo, but it's done in what you would basically be able to say is an extraordinary form, right?
Yeah.
But I see the division between the hardcore rad trads and people who are like, I go to the TLM, I go to the Novus Ordo, and mass is mass as long as it's done correctly to the liturgy, right? Going to a traditional Latin mass doesn't make you more Catholic than someone who goes to a Novus Ordo mass. Going to a Novus Ordo mass doesn't make you less Catholic than someone who goes to a TLM, or going to a low mass versus a high mass. There's no difference. It's mass. And I think it's that kind of attitude that has grown, where it starts to get, you're being even uncharitable to your fellow Catholics because they don't attend the TLM, or they don't or they don't like the Novus Ordo, and so you've got Novus Ordo attendants arguing with the TLM attendants all the time. And I'm like, bro, we're all Catholic.
Mm.
I'm like, at my church, there's 2 Novus Ordo masses and a Latin mass. We don't beef with the 12 p.m. mass people just because we're 10 a.m. mass people, right? We don't beef with them. And I don't know. I mean, have you seen any of that in Jersey, where because I don't like using the word parish hopping, because you don't parish hop. You're involved in multiple parishes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because I mean, sometimes you have to be when there's a lack of people willing to step up to the plate. But
yeah,
do you see that kind of stuff here? Because I don't see it here. I don't see, people who go to TLM beefing with the Novus Ordo people. I only ever see it online.
Yeah. You know what? I'm pretty much in the same boat. I see it online all day, every day, and I think it's ridiculous. Because, like you just said, we're all Catholic. I mean, and also, as you said, going to the TLM does not make you more Catholic. Going to Novus Ordo doesn't make you less Catholic. How you live your faith makes you more or less Catholic, not what mass you attend. And so it bothers me, right, that you see those arguments. I mean, and honestly, I will say, I mean, I love the Latin mass as well. And of course, being Byzantine, I love the liturgy, St. John Chrysostom, St. Basil the Great. But so I've seen a little bit of everything, and it bothers me that people would segregate themselves or try to draw a line between themselves and someone else based on what mass or liturgy they attend. It seems kind of ridiculous. I don't really see that here. I mean, there's only one parish around me that has the TLM, and I'll say 2 things about that. One is that they have one traditional Latin mass per weekend, and it is packed. It is packed to the gills, and it's packed with people from various other parishes that don't offer the TLM. But the other thing I'll say about that is I know people that attend TLM. I know the vast majority of people that I know do not attend the TLM, and I never see any arguments. I never seen a discussion about that. So it seems to be more of an online sort of a thing. And I guess it's because the people that are going on, like Twitter, for instance, and guys like me, I'll admit I'm one of them. I mean, you go on my Twitter and you have no question that I'm a Catholic. It's basically, with very few exceptions, anything I tweet about is.
I thought you might have been Hindu at first.
Well, that's only because of my profile picture. But
yeah. He was just tanning in Jersey.
Exactly. But like, there's no mistaking that I'm Catholic. So the people that get on Twitter and identify themselves as being Catholic, they typically will identify themselves as being, big TLM supporter, very conservative.
I'm a TLM Catholic.
Yeah, right. Which is so silly. You're just Catholic, and then there are the others that are that'll identify. I mean, you learn so much from someone's little tiny little bio on their Twitter, and it's amazing. Like when you'll see, you got two different camps. You get the ones where the bio says uh, Catholic, TLM, conservative, MAGA, Trump forever, goes on and on like that. And then you'll see the one that says Catholic, Biden forever, progressive, pro-choice, they go on forever. So there's these two very distinct camps that I see. Mine doesn't say anything. That it just says
There's nothing to say. You're not that interesting.
I'm not that interesting, but but that's the thing. I identify myself as Catholic, and that's it. You can draw whatever conclusions you want, but we, just like with every other social aspect, social issue that people are drawing very definitive lines in the sand about, people are now doing that with their version of Catholicism, which drives me crazy. Come on, people, just we're Catholic. That's it. Just end it. Even I don't even specify on any of my social media that I'm Byzantine Catholic, because to me, Jeff, I'm no more or less Catholic than you are. And you,
well, technically, you're
Catholic,
more Catholic than I am, because I'm not going to be confirmed until this weekend.
Well, okay. So for a few days, I'm more Catholic.
Start Sunday morning, though. We're on a level playing field. I promise.
Oh, forget about it. It's it's a whole new ball game. But
forget about it.
And I will always be much more Catholic than you, because being Byzantine Catholic, I was like 3 weeks old when I was confirmed. So there you go. So I've got it up on. So that's
now I just have to live longer than you to pass it
so
up.
I'm already 80 years ahead of you in that regard. But no, it's not even that that's possible. I mean, I'm going to live forever. I'll tell you that. But I don't know. I don't know why people feel but I do think it's kind of like I do think that people, even as far as their faith, get to a point where they think, I'm practicing it better than you are. I'm better at it than you are. So therefore, I'm a better Catholic than you are. But they get hooked up and they get hooked on the wrong things. It makes me think about some of our Jewish friends, and I love our Jewish neighbors, of course. Nothing wrong with that. But how they had always put more an emphasis, and this was a sticking point with Christ. They put more emphasis on the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law. So they've got when they have the phylacteries. God says to keep His word close to your mind. So they have a box on their head that has literally the word of God in it. They've got the women in this area. There are a lot of Jewish communities where I live here, throughout New Jersey. And they are mostly Hasidic Jews, conservative.
I was going to ask if they were Hasidic.
And the women, and the women aren't supposed to primp and really worry about their hair and things like that. So what do? They all have wigs that they make sure are very kept up and wonderful. So every single one of the women are wearing a wig that's been taken care of. It kind of defeats the purpose, if you're just going to cover up the hair that you have with fake hair, and it goes on and on. It's kind of like they have these Eruvs in all the towns around here that have a high Jewish population. They have Eruvs, which is, you're not supposed to step outside of your home on the Sabbath. So they make arrangements with the town that they actually, on the telephone poles, they actually surround the entire town with PVC piping. And so now the entire town is considered to be part of your home. So you can go out anywhere on the Sabbath. You can go to the grocery store. You can go, to wherever, the CVS or whatever, because you have not technically left your home. Because so it's all about loopholes. And I'm thinking this is kind of what. And listen, I know a lot of great TLM type folks, but this is what they're kind of doing the same thing. They're putting so much emphasis on these visual parts of Catholicism. Like, look at me. I go to the TLM. I can keep up. I understand the Latin, blah, blah, blah. And whereas that's not really that has nothing to do with it. You know, that's not what's important. What's important is how are you living your life as a Catholic, not that you're better than me because you attend this mass or that mass, or you use this missal instead of that missal and stuff like that. You know, so it's a shame that it's gotten to that point. But I do love the fact that we have these things available, and I think that that's one of the reasons why the Pope has been so down on the TLM. I mean, he's not on Twitter, he's not on Facebook or anything like that, so he has to go by what people tell him. And I think that he's being told that the TLM, he's not being told that it's attracting young people, which it is. He's being told that it's causing division, and I think that's just my thought on this. That might be one of the reasons why he's kind of down on the TLM. But I think no, I think you keep it. You just explain to people that it doesn't put you in any sort of different category just because you attended TLM.
Yeah,
That's my thought on that.
You've got the Pope splainers, right? Which I try not to be. I try to explain reality with an understanding of nuance and a bit of normalcy. But there are those that will just absolutely defend every single thing Pope Francis says. Okay, fine. And then you've got those that Pope Francis can walk outside and say, it's raining while it's raining. And these people will just, no, it isn't. That's heretical. It's not raining. It's called water falling from the sky. You know, they just anti anything the man says. And I try not to be that way with anything, right? For me, it gets too far into like party politics, right? You're like, oh, I'm never Biden or I'm never Trump. You get people that are never Francis. Well, you've got people that were never Benedict. You know, that whole thing. But, you know, I get that he's being told and he can only react to what he's being told. I get that. Do I 100% know that that is the case? No, neither do you. Neither does anybody else except the Pope, right? No. Only he knows.
Yeah.
But to me, when I see those social media bios that you were talking about, I'm a TLM hyper rad trad extremist. It's no different than when I see MAGA or Detroit Lions. Da, 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 da. I'm like, they're bumper stickers to me, right? That's what they are. They're bumper stickers. When you put bumper stickers on your car, you do it as an expression or extension of who you are, right? You can tell a lot about people by looking at their bumper stickers, which is why I have 0 bumper stickers. Now I've got a rosary hanging on my rearview mirror, so you could tell that about me. But I look at it this way. The more bumper stickers a person has, the less mentally stable they probably are. And when I say mentally, I mean like on an emotional side of things, right? Because I see these people, it's like their bumper stickers here in the South. You can have my gun when you pry it from my cold, dead hands, or gun control means using 2 hands, or, you know, the best ones, the funniest ones are those Salt Life stickers. And I'm looking around, I'm like, you realize we live like 4 hours from the coast, right? Like, but okay, Salt Life. You live 4 hours from the coast. You got Salt Life on the back of your Camaro that's parked in front of your apartment in the middle of a town. All right, cool. You're all about that Salt Life. You're not even allowed to have a boat because they don't have them in the parking spaces. But cool, Salt Life. Got it. It's like a Yeti sticker, you know, on the back of a Camry. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But you, at the same time, when you look at someone and they have all of these bumper stickers, it's like all coexist, Biden, da 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 da. It's no different to me than when it's like Trump, Reagan, you know, big oil. I don't know, you know, just whatever. They try way too hard to identify themselves with these hyper minutia versus I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Muslim. I'm a Jew. I'm a dad. I'm a barista. I don't know. You know, they try way too hard to really make it sure to stand out. I want to show you what I am so you can infer what I'm against. To me, it seems like you're trying way too hard, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of, being an individual. I think for myself, just like everyone else in my echo chamber.
Yeah, but if you have to identify yourself in that way with the bumper stickers, with all this kind of stuff, with the banner on your Twitter page or whatever, what you're telling me is that I can't tell who you are by your actions. You have to tell me so that I know who you are. So, you know what I'm saying? So that in and of itself is a problem. That's why, it doesn't, my bio doesn't tell you much about me at all. It's got a quote from C.S. Lewis that could apply to anybody. But then people realize, oh, this guy's Catholic. This guy, he believes this, he believes that, he believes this other thing. Look how he defends the church. Look how he defends the faith. Look how, and then you wind up growing your followers and stuff that way because of how I behave and things like that, as opposed to me having to plaster it all over the place. If I've got to put a bumper sticker on the back of the car, so whatever that I, then I probably am not as much of that as I say that I am. People should be able to know who you are and what you're all about by the way you behave in society. So again, if you have to raise a flag up.
We talked about that yesterday with how do you advertise Catholicism? By behaving and living as a Catholic should, right?
Yeah.
The only reason I have the love child of James Bond and Don Draper in my bio is because I got tired of people asking if that was specifically the case. And so I went ahead and tried to clarify any doubt by putting it in the bio. Right.
Exactly.
But no, it makes like I said, I love the TLM. It's absolutely beautiful. It's an otherworldly experience. And I love my extraordinarily reverent Novus Ordo Mass that I attend, where you won't hear a single hymn tune that was written before the year 1785, right? Like every single thing about my church, it's deeply rooted in the beautiful tradition of the church. Just because they do the readings in English and maybe it's 2 readings in a gospel versus the 1 reading in a gospel, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We just read a little bit more. We the consecration of gifts, depending on whether it's one priest or the other, it's probably going to be said in Latin, right? It might be, it's 50-50 chance, depending on the priest or depending on whether it's a solemn mass or whatever. But everybody at our parish, we're all Catholic. We're all Catholic.
Yeah.
Whether you attend a Novus Ordo, whether you attend, what is it, an FSSP or whatever, stop with the pretense and be Catholic.
Yeah.
You're getting way too bogged down in the details. And look, it just turns into a just mess. It's like a dumpster fire. It's like watching the political debates. It's a dumpster fire, but we're all Catholic, right? Now,
yeah,
I didn't intend for us to go almost a full hour into this, but it was a great conversation flowing. So really quick, I mentioned him yesterday, so I don't even have to go into it. Our saint of the day is the Venerable Matt Talbot, and I mentioned him by name yesterday as being the super duper alcoholic guy who just gave up all of his possessions and money so he wouldn't be able to afford to buy booze and spent all of his time in charitable works for other drunks, for homeless, for the poor, for the church. So he is our saint of the day. But now let's get into what Ed brought out of his basement so we can wrap this show up.
Well, first, a program note talking about New Mexico, and they're entering the union and things like that. So New Mexico became a state January 6th of 1902, I believe it was. So the flag that's behind me there actually is older than the state of New Mexico, because that flag behind me is from around 1900.
We were both wrong.
Has...
I said we were both wrong. I said 1909. You said 1902. It's 1912.
Yeah. 1912. Oh, I meant, yeah, 1912. You're right. But it was January 6th. Yeah, it 1912. I said 1902. Yeah, I meant to say 1912. But so, yeah, 1912. So the flag behind me, which is like 130 years old, predates the state of New Mexico. So that's kind of cool. So there's it's not actually from the Vatican archives, but that's a piece of history right behind me there. But I was working on something right up until we went on. So I was like, oh, I never grabbed anything from the archives, but I always have something on standby. So I ran into the next room there, and I did get something that does apply. So, we've talked about, I've talked about, and I've brought in some things from Catholic service members because I'm always, I love the fact that there are some people who really, they serve God, they serve our country, they serve their families, God, country, family, right? And that's what we're told it's all about. So I do have a few things with me that are from chaplains that have served over time. So this is this right here. This would be a patch from a chaplain that served in the 101st Airborne, and so a Catholic chaplain for the 101st Airborne, Screaming Eagles. So that's cool. And then from if you go back a little bit further to the Civil War, this would be the shoulder, shoulder boards,
patches,
and the patches, and from the hat of a Catholic chaplain in the Civil War, and then what we can go to if you were a Catholic chaplain currently serving in the Navy, this is what your shoulder board would look like. So there you go. So we do have those items that are Catholic. They are from the archives, and they are from my Catholic Armed Services wing of the basement.
The wing of the basement, right?
The wing. There's a lot of wings down there. There's the Catholic Service Armed Services wing. There is the Catholic Documentation wing. There is this stuff I'm not really supposed to have wing. That kind of stuff. So
he's got the spear of Saint Longinus down there. He's using it to prop up the table.
Well, I listen. I got to bring that up because I do have a spear that may or may not be the spear of Longinus. It's from the right time.
Please say Longinus. Please say Longinus. Don't say Longinus. Yeah.
Longinus. Well, I didn't even realize it said Longinus. I've got a really bad case of Longinus. I can't come into work today. But Saint Longinus, he's a great dude. I like him. He's awesome. But truly, this was the Son of God, as they say. But there you go. So there's a lot of good stuff down there, and you'll as we go on, you will be seeing more and more of it. But there you go.
All right.
What else you got
I'm digging
for us?
It was going so well, and it just took a nosedive.
When you get to a fork in the road there, and sometimes you choose wisely.
Look, I'm hard of hearing as it is, right? I've got hearing loss from a grenade that ruptured my eardrum when I was in the Army. And so you saying Longinus, and if I don't hear the lawn, I'm just hearing ginas. I'm like, all right, we just went Like, please say Longinus. Please say Longinus. We got
Longinus.
We went way downhill. We were
Yes.
doing so
40
well,
degrees
too.
Longinus.
Yeah,
It was we were the finish line. You could see the finish line. You know what I'm saying?
it was
like
there.
right there. But
And then the 12-year-old
it was
me
there.
heard
I
you
could-
speak.
You know, we you know, but we could, we're going back to that, the whole thing about the but like I don't think that I'm a better Catholic than you, but that I attend the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, which is very long and complicated and has not changed in about approximately 1700 years. I just throw that in there. I mean, you talk about the TLM, the liturgy I go to goes a lot further back than that. I will tell you that. And I don't know why. You know, we never talk about that, but I don't know why the Pope's cool with that. He has no intention. He actually has said he has no intention of messing with the traditions of the Eastern churches. So I don't know. And instead of
Like
it
I
in
said,
Latin, it's
maybe it's
typically
because
in
of the whole
Church or Old
attitude
Slavonic,
between one and the
which
other.
is kind of cool.
You know, like I say, it could be because of the attitude between one and the other. Well, you dirty Novus Ordite.
I guess.
You know, something like that. But all right. So check this out, guys. We have Brian Burgess, one of the best apologists I've ever seen, coming up on Monday. So he'll be here with us Monday. And Enoch, the Catholic rapper, will be either on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but it's definitely next week. We don't know which day works specific for him, but he said he's open. We just need him to choose one, or we'll choose for him. But that's coming up next week, and we might have a surprise guest sometime this week. But we're going to wrap this one up. And before we go, quick reminder, check out Holy Habits. It's free on the Apple App Store. It's on Google Play. We had Drago Dimitrov on last week, talked all about it. So if you missed that episode, go back, check it out, listen. And Ed and I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And God bless all of you.
God bless you, everybody.